All right, welcome back, everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I am back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 replay cast, and let me tell you, this one is going to be epic. This is going to be MARU taking on Cure. MARU and Cure are two amazing Terran players. They're the best of the best in the StarCraft 2 scene as far as Terrans go. And that's why I'm excited to watch him play a TvT, and I'll talk a little bit more about the players while the game heats on up. Because MARU here, in the top left-hand side of the map, he is, without a doubt, known as one of the best Terrans, if not the best Terran in the world, for quite a while now. And he plays incredibly well. He's incredibly quick. He's been playing since he was like 3 or something like that. Jokes aside, I think it was more like 13, but still a very long time. And his opponent, a little bit lesser known, recently joined Dragon Phoenix Gaming, is Cure. Now, Cure is he's one of the most underrated Terran players out there. I think a lot of people that really follow the pro scene closely know he's very good, but if you're someone who just checks out StarCraft 2, you might not be too familiar with who Cure is, and that's because he hasn't had like giant tournament results or anything like that. But as far as on the ladder and in online cups and things, he is incredibly good. And part of the reason for that is that for a long time, him and MARU, they'd practice together, seeing as how they were on the same team, which was Jin Air Greenwings, which MARU still represents. And so that's really exciting news for MARU and Cure, or just for Cure, I guess, seeing as how he's sort of rising up once again. He was really good for a time, then he kind of retired for a little bit, and now he's back, and he's getting better and better every day that goes on. And we're about to see him take on just the absolute Goliath that is MARU as far as StarCraft 2 Terrans go. And that's why I'm excited just to watch this match just straight up. Just see two amazing Terran players just juke it out. And yeah, we'll see. So, enough of that. Talking about the game here as it's going to go underway. We have got MARU going for the later expansion. He went for the double gas play, whereas Cure went for the much quicker command center with the Reaper Expand. Now, nothing really has to happen in the game. Things generally do just work out to even out in TvT, whether you go for the Reaper Expand or whether you go for the double gas. It's really nothing too major how things, how the game's going to progress. It's really more about what happens in the mid game, what sort of moves are made. Early game builds doesn't affect things too much, because we see MARU, while his command center is a little bit later, it's not super duper late compared to Cure's or anything like that. Although I think Cure's choice is a little bit better just based on the fact that Nightshade is a larger StarCraft 2 map, I believe. It's got a lot more open space, so it's a lot more likely to go into macro or something like that. It's not really too favorable to all-ins. Now, TvT has this early game, though, which players tend to skirmish, and since MARU did go for the double gas, he's going to have more units to push up this ramp here, and Cure could be in trouble. Now, he did just have 2 more Hellions pop out, though, so he is able to repel MARU. Looks like MARU's 3 Reapers and 2 Hellions running away from Cure's 4 Hellions as he stabilizes himself at the top of that ramp. So we saw a little bit of a trade go down there. Cure lost a Reaper, and MARU sent his, MARU's pulling his units back now. I don't read Korean. If you happen to read Korean, let me know in the comments if you do. And yeah, let's just see how this game's going to progress. And I thought I saw something on the production tab, and it is a fusion core coming out of MARU. Is he going to be Battlecruiser rushing someone as good as Cure in a Terran versus Terran? BC rushes in TvZ are common. In TvT, it's kind of just mad, but it can kind of work out. It's not really been mapped out too much, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities. So MARU going for a fusion core is going to be Battlecruiser rushing Cure. It's almost just BM, the fact that he's going for this, but oh lord, he is. And now let's take a look. Cure moving on in with, he's built up a higher number of Hellions. He's going to press on in. We'll see if he's able to get much damage done. Looks like he's going to cook up a few of MARU's units, but he did lose some of his own, so we take a look. Oh, Cure's actually going to go back in the Mad Lad. He wants those Reapers. He gets 2 of them for 1 of his Hellions. Not a bad trade there. And yeah, I mean, on that resources loss tab, looks like Cure actually lost a Liberator that he sent in to harass MARU a little bit, but yeah, that was actually nicely done by MARU cleaning that up. It's just, I mean, everything considered, though, it's pretty equal. MARU is down on supply by a fair bit, but that's because he's committing to this Battlecruiser tech, which is pretty darn... it's a pretty darn big commitment, so we'll see how well this is going to work out for MARU. He's now moving in with one of his own Reapers, going to scout out Cure's base. He doesn't really need to be the one who's scouting too much, as he's the one going for the Battlecruiser rush. I mean, the odds of them both BC rushing is kind of unfathomable, but here we go. MARU teleported his BC into Cure's side of the map, and right now Cure's going to be like, are you kidding me, guy? You just Battlecruiser rushed me, but this BC is repelled by the fact that there is a Raven, which used its interference matrix. The Cyclone deals a ton of damage to that Battlecruiser. MARU thought he pulled it out far enough, but no, he did not. So this Battlecruiser taken a lot of damage already. And I mean, if we take a look here, MARU's not getting anything done with this, really. The Cyclone is enough to repel the Battlecruiser, and Cure also going into Vikings behind this, so not a lot of success here right out the gate from MARU. Yeah, just not looking too good. He's getting Yamato Cannon on the way, so he may be able to use a Yamato Cannon, but so far, not a great start from MARU. Just his BC didn't really do anything, so Cure's up a few workers. Cure has his 3rd command center done a little bit sooner than MARU's, but it really just goes to show how in TvT, no matter the builds you go for early on, things tend to even out quite drastically. Now, Cure has a lot more supply, but he does need to be careful about how he manages his army, because Battlecruisers are a unit which, if you don't have enough to deal with them, you might as well not fight them. Because if you fight a Battlecruiser with like 5 Marines, the BC is going to walk away fine. If you fight with 10 Marines, the BC probably going to get away. Now, if you fight with, like, say, 15 Marines or something, the BC is going to die, and that's when you want to take a fight. Otherwise, you're just wasting units. Now, Cure might be going for a bit of aggression now because he knows MARU committed to this tech, the BCs, which is going to cut into his other unit production, cut into his defense. And it looks like Cure is going to be going for this pressure here. These Vikings are going to allow him to maybe kite the Battlecruisers a bit. So MARU, he's building up a turret. He's got his Cyclones to defend. Cure wants to try and move on in, but I don't know how well that's going to work out for him. You need a lot of supply to take down a Battlecruiser. In small unit engagements, BCs don't actually fare too badly for themselves. Now, MARU might even be looking for a nice Yamato cannon here. Looks like he's going to get one. Interference matrix goes down a little bit too late. And MARU actually gets on out of there with both his BCs after using 2 Yamato cannons. Nice little trade there. Guess MARU queued up that interference, that teleport before the interference matrix landed, so it didn't get cancelled, which is actually good to know. I guess that I'm not sure if I saw that correctly or not, but I guess interference matrix doesn't cancel the teleport because it's akin to mass recall, and mass recall can't be cancelled. Cure still, with his superior number of units, with his bio army, is going to begin pushing onto Maru's side of the map. In this kind of nuts TvT, MARU just went right for Battlecruisers, and the game's getting played out from there. He's playing a mechanical style here with his siege tanks, with all of the units that he's got, whereas Cure's playing the bio, which is it's the more mobile of the styles. I just want to point out that Cure is going to be pressed to get things done a little bit, as the bio doesn't hold up in the late game as much as the mech, so you generally want to try and get rid of those units. And as we take a look here, Cure is actually going to be getting up a fair few supply depots, which I want to point out is really nice, because one thing that makes mech strong is Hellion run-bys, because you have a lot of Hellions when you play mech usually. And so Cure, he's anticipating that. And look at this. We'll see if Cure's wall's going to hold, but yeah, this is actually going to pay off dividends for him. The fact that he went for this supply depot wall cannot be understated in value. The Hellions from MARU, which were queued on in, they've got to go all the way around, and they're actually going to go up this ramp and feed on into Cure's army. So it looks like Cure, because he built his supply depots there, just nabbed himself an easy defense, easy 2 Hellions. It's little things like that that are really impressive. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're about 10 minutes into this TvT. I don't know how long it's going to be. It could be a long doozy here. But if you are enjoying this awesome high-level TvT, make sure to press that like button. Since we are at 10 minutes into the game, let's try and hit 30 likes on this video, as these two are just Goliaths to Starcraft 2. They're both just so good. And I'm so happy to be casting a game of this skill level here. Now, let's take a look. Blue Flame on the way for MARU. He's really teching up, and this is where it starts to get a little bit scary for Cure. And this is where a lot of Terran players will make mistakes taking on a meching player, because it's kind of like dealing with like a feral cat or something. Like you don't want to get bit or whatever by dealing with mechs incorrectly. So you got to be very careful right now if you're Cure, because if he commits too much to the bio and goes for a big attack, he's gonna lose the game. If he doesn't tech up enough, he's gonna lose the game. But if he leaves himself vulnerable, there's a chance MARU could go for like a big attack once he maxes out. And so Kieran needs to be very focused on what he's teching into, and I like what I'm seeing so far. The transition into mass air is how you deal with someone who's gone into mech, because it's all about the air control in StarCraft 2. Now MARU's Battlecruisers roll up across the map. They got to be careful. They're going to teleport out because they know there's a Raven there. However, they did nab themselves 7 SCVs, not bad. We do take a look, though. Kira is doing the right choice. When you're the player with the more mobility, like the bio player, you want to be pushing all over the map. And Kira, he's throwing down a ton of command centers. He has that freedom to expand all over the place, to invest in a ton of these command centers, and it's going to help him out when he makes the transition into the late game, when he's the one who's going to go for a lot of maybe even his own BCs or something like that. And MARU himself has to expand a little bit slower because he's much slower, but because his army's slower, but he is going to be getting up this 5th base, which is very nice for him. Once you have that, it's a weight off your shoulders as the meching player, as it's one of the harder bases to take. Now, Kier, he might want to trade out pretty darn soon, so he may be looking for a fight to push into MARU, as he does want to trade away his bio army eventually. Both players are maxed out, and looks like Kier going to be taking the engagement here. Anti-armor missile actually went down, so this is actually going to be pretty darn nice for Kira, I think, as far as fights go. MARU has a lot of Thors on the ground, but he's definitely going to lose the air fight. Looks like there is enough Thors, but Kira actually lands his Vikings, the Madland, and takes a beautiful fight there. His mass Viking count was really underestimated there by MARU, moving out, not even bringing his whole army because he had a lot of tanks out of position there. So he fought without all of his supply, and now he lost a fair bit of resources, a fair bit of units that are very tough to replace if you're the meching player, or is harder to replace if you're the meching player, as they're very expensive. So MARU probably didn't want to take that fight. He's now going to have to rebuild all these units. Whereas for Kier, what this allowed him to do is it's allowed him to build more of an army, since he wanted to get rid of that bio anyway. So if you're Kira right now, you're saying, I see this as an absolute win, particularly how he's up on the resources lost. He's lost less than MARU, and it's usually the bio player who's going to be down on resources. So we'll see what is Kira able to get done right now. He's going to move on in. He's going to harass a little bit with this bio, once again using his superior mobility. Knocking down these gas geysers might seem trivial to you, but it's actually a big deal. Lowering the gas of MARU, as mech is all about that high gas count, and Kira getting these 2 geysers, even though he can't engage the planetary fortress, is a very nice move. Gonna lower MARU's gas income, while Kira himself is just laughing to the bank here as he's throwing up his own 2. He's got this base here. He's probably gonna expand as quick as possible, because that's what you want to do when you are taking on someone who's meching. You want to take all the bases before they're able to, say, bully you off them with their stronger mech army. Now, let's take a look here. Scans going down all over the place from these players, just keeping eyes on each other, because in TvT it's very important not to be caught off guard. MARU gets himself building armor, so his planetaries are going to be tougher. His refineries will be tougher. Good investment in the late game. MARU also approaching towards 3-3 upgrades, which cannot be understated. Once mech is 3-3, it is very strong, and it's going to make the Thors way tougher It's going to make his tanks deal so much more damage. His Vikings will benefit as well from the armor. And yeah, you got to be very, very happy if you're MARU. But Kier's still not doing a bad job of this. Because I say you'll be happy for MARU because the main goal of Beck usually is just to max out, reach a point which you aren't easily brought down, and MARU has reached that point. It's not going to be easy for Kier to kill him. Kier's probably going to have to play this game very, very long. Right now, we are seeing an engagement go down, but it looks like this could be Kier's turn to take a bad fight. He moves in with all of his Liberators, but in kind of a bad position here. The Thors are just making mincemeat of them, and that was actually a very poor engagement from Kier, as he thought his Liberators could take on the Thors, but Thors are extremely good in the anti-air front. Yeah, wow, MARU getting a good engagement there, not too unsimilar from the one that occurred earlier. So each player has taken a bad engagement now. They're both pretty darn close on supply, and this goes to show how high-level TvT is just very, very close and very, very tough to get an advantage in. Here, even right now, even just looking for anything, moving his Vikings across the map. Now, MARU, he's got a very high Thor count. He's repairing them up because he knows they're important, but we saw how tanky those Thors were in that last fight with their 3-3. Kier's army just wasn't up to stuff to deal with it. MARU just going for the mass Thors, not even really caring about his air army at this point. This is actually a really cool style we're seeing from MARU. The Raven and a ton of Thors, not even caring about the air control, not even caring about the issue that Liberators will present or anything like that. He just says, right, Thors are enough anti-air, and this is actually just a nuts game between these players. Vikings moving north for Kier. Liberators gonna help zone out this army once again. MARU's Thors are slow, but if they can take an engagement here, they will be able to crush this army. Vikings even gonna land as the bio is gonna try and knock down this planetary fortress. Looks like it's gonna fall, but Kier's pretty darn committed here. He took down this base at no small cost to himself, though he lost a few units engaging into that planetary. MARU now, by the way, the mad lad, splitting his Thors up, really wants to bring those together. But it looks like he's going to try and trap the army of Kier. And Kier's force, I don't know if it's up to stuff to take this army on. Like, it may just look like a few Thors, but these guys are tough. They are 3-3 Thors. There is tanks to aid them here. They're going to siege up now. And Kier's going to have a tough time engaging into this. He's got the Liberators to help out. The Thors are busy taking down this planetary, but it quickly disappears. And now, if we take a look, this is just tough for Kier. Losing this base. His Liberators are slower than Thors because they have to siege and unsiege. I said it. Something is slower than Thors. And oh, even MARU getting good tank shots off. We're suddenly seeing the strength of the mech army and how tough it is to deal with. MARU just pushed on in, and Kier really can't do anything about this. He's looking for a counterattack with his bio, but he knows that taking on this army is not an easy task. That's why he's moving around. That's why he's not going for a direct engagement. Kier's going to run on in. He's going to knock down a sensor tower. He's going to find a few Thors. Looks like he's going to be able to nab these guys up just enough bio to easily dispatch those. Going to get himself a few siege tanks as well. This bio is going to have to keep running, but they are losing units rapidly. All of a sudden, it's just one Marine and one Marauder. And I don't think they're going to be along for this world. MARU going to knock those guys down. And all of a sudden, I mean, this game's still very, very close. Like, here, he's making the Liberators, MARU making the Thors. Looks like an engagement's going to happen once again. It is notable how much Kier's still relying on his high mobility bio, as he does pick off MARU's base. They're nicely done. Kier himself, by the way, it's important to note, he's mining from the bottom left. He's mining from the bottom right. And this is actually just a very good spot for the Blue Terran, because this is money that's MARU's not going to mine from either of these bases. I doubt Kier's going to hold on to either of these for their lifespan, but just the fact that he mined off these a little bit is nice for him. Now, looks like he could be losing this base here. He's got a Liberator which can help out. Once again, Kier moving on in. Looks like he's going to try and take a fight, engaging into the Thors. This is a bit risky because Thors, not bad. In mass versus bio, you got to have a really superior number of bio to deal with it. But they're still just as hectic as ever this game. I mean, MARU took down the base to the bottom right. He lost this base. Kier's out on the map with his bio, but he's got to be so careful. This bio will be wrecked by the Thors, wrecked by the Raven, which MARU has to support these. That anti-armor missile really helps out too. And if we take a look here, Liberator's moving in for Kier to try and zone out the Thors, but this base shall not be saved, I don't believe. The Thor's able to move out of the Liberation zones. They're so darn slow, but oh, look at this. Kier going for a big surround. The Liberator's coming in, setting up. Anti-armor missile goes down for MARU, but he actually did overextend there. Gonna lose a big chunk of his army because MARU really just fought with half of his army there. That's how Kier was able to take the victory in that fight. If that was MARU's whole army, he couldn't have done that, but Kier saw his opportunity. I didn't even think a battle was gonna happen there, but Kier with some units to the north kind of got the jump on MARU and me. Now, MARU, he's still making this mass Thor composition, which is kind of curious because Thors aren't super cost efficient like mech is. However, resources lost, still very close, so we'll see how that's going to play out. But yeah, it is important to note, Thors, they're doing all right for trades for MARU, but they are not the super cost efficient mech composition that is unbeatable by bio. Kier can dance around this. He can force better engagements much more easily than you can versus like typical mass Viking mass siege tank, which is really tough to engage. Now, if we take a look here right now, Kier, he's flying his air army to the north. I don't know what he's going to do with this. Setting up just a ton of Liberators, going to zone out this army. Maybe he's going to land the Vikings to engage that planetary, but for now, he's just moving out with his bio. Kier has been consistently running around the map with his bio just to try and look for any small engagement he can take, and he can probably engage these Thors here. He wants to push on in. An anti-armor missile going to help out, but it is the siege tanks which are going to be used to zone out this army, not the Thors, so it's curious to see how MARU is just using mass Thor by itself. Now pushing on in once again. Kier having to set up his Liberators to zone out these Thors, but this base very well may be lost. However, it's always tit for tat here as Kier knocks down one of MARU's bases, is going to take down 25 of his SCVs, loses his own though, going to lose a good number of his own SCVs. And it just really goes to show how much these two players are in equal skill. MARU going to be engaging Kier's base, once again setting up his tanks. His Thors can even maybe just engage right on into this. Kier's securing up this other base to the right-hand side, though. Cyclone's going to come on in. They'll lock on, but I don't believe they'll be able to kill this base. They're just going to go for the SCVs, all the while Kier streaming in more units, heavily overstim bio. Will dislodge MARU from the space, and we are seeing MARU with the very immobile mech with the very slow mech composition is being pulled apart on the map Nightshade, which is very large. I mean, Kier, he's just bouncing around the map because it's so large, it's so wide open, and that's why Kier's having so much success with this bio, I'd say. MARU can't be everywhere at once. And if we take a look, all of a sudden, Kier has taken the lead right now. I mean, he's lost a lot of his own bases, yes. However, MARU doesn't have that much of an economy at this point. He's maxed out, yes. He's got a very high army supply because he's only got 35 SCVs. But his actual economy and his ability to remax past this point, not that great. So MARU gonna have to be very careful with the engagement that he takes. He's set up his tanks right away, gonna try and bring down this base, but his Thors are getting sieged up on by Liberators. Bio's stimming on in, and this is MARU once again fighting with only a portion of his army. This is gonna be disastrous for him. Now, I say disastrous, it was a less than ideal fight for MARU. However, it still went alright for him just because he's had such a high supply. The rest of his army does come in, and the Thors with their 3-3 usually bring something down with them. But MARU is almost all in at this point in the game. His economy is not great behind this, barely mining. And yeah, if we look at the income, barely mining, so it's all about this one big fight here. MARU wants to push on in. He wants to deal critical damage to Kier. And right now, if we look at the supply, it's very close. There's a chance he'll be able to make it happen, but it really is now for MARU. He needs to make this fight happen. He needs to win the game here. And moving in with his Thors at an angle like this is ever so risky. Kier producing just a massive amount of units still. He's able to make just a ton of Marines, a ton of Marauders, and a ton of Liberators, which are really going to help out here. They can lock the Thors out. And so, while MARU is getting a nice attack going on in here, Kyr's economy that's still going is really going to allow him just to max out here. This Thor is going to get caught into the liberation zones, and it really is telling MARU just to back off. You can't push on in here. And that's when MARU's really going to be in trouble. Kyr's supply is just so much higher. He's bouncing all over the map with Bio. Shut down this base. He just shut down this base, this location here. MARU's got this planetary still mining, but not really. There's no FCVs there. And this is just looking very, very troublesome for MARU. His supply is really far down. Looks like MARU was trying to shut down this base in the right for Kyr, but he just loses a portion of his army there that he really can't afford to replace. Kyr, he's got this base in the right, he's got this base in the left. His economy is much, much superior, and as a result, MARU's in trouble. He's made a round of Hellions. That's what he can afford at this point. He's going to be looking for an opportunistic fight with his tanks, with his mass Thor. But he's still got to get a lot of damage done to Kyr to come back in this game. The supply is 187 to 94, and MARU is being sent on his way by these Liberators. He can't take a fight versus them. This is why Thors aren't usually seen too much in the late game. They're doing all right on a map this large versus the Liberators, but if the Bio gets on top of these Thors, it's going to be trouble for MARU. They're his only anti-air. The Bio's coming on in. If they can even pick off one or two of the Thors, that can let the Liberators win the fight. The tanks are dealing mass damage, but that's going to be it as Kyr takes down MARU in an epic Terran versus Zerg, in an epic late one. And MARU, yeah, he falls to Kyr there, just not having enough. He didn't stabilize enough his mech, really, and Kyr did a good job, a great job, as a matter of fact, hitting all over the place. And it goes to show why you might play the more typical mech, as it really helps you defend your bases there, whereas MARU wasn't really able to with his slow Thors. Whereas if you, say, played Viking Siege Tank, he could be a lot more punishing to Kyr. He'd be able to defend his bases, make it a lot harder to harass. In the end, though, I think it was just a bit of an odd style for a map like this, so opened up. And, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, if you stayed this long to the end of this cast, press that like button on this epic MARU versus Kyr TvT, as these guys are just gods of StarCraft 2. Let's try and break, I think I said like 30 likes on this video. As that's the goal for non-alpha StarCast, but if we can blow past that, it really shows that you guys enjoy other commentaries. Of course, press that subscribe button if you aren't. I put out a lot of StarCraft 2. That'll let you know when I put up a new video. And also, join my Discord. I link it in every description of every commentary. So check that out. I post things there sometimes. We have a nice little community going. And I recently did put up memberships on the channel, just ways to support the channel if you so choose. Completely optional, no pressure there, but just figured I'd mention it. Thanks so much to everyone for watching. This has been LaughNgamez. I'll see you next time. What a crazy TvT.